Hello. My name is Princess Iara, and 3 years ago, my husband tried to kill me with a cobra. I died for 4 minutes on the cold marble floor of my bedroom, while the man I loved was in another city with his mistress. The doctors said I would never wake up. My mother was already planning my funeral, but I did wake up, and when I opened my eyes, I remembered everything. Every lie he told me, every plan he made to get rid of me, every moment leading up to that night when he left that snake in my room to end my life. If you're watching this, please don't click away. I need you to hear my story. I need you to understand that what happened to me could happen to anyone. Subscribe to this channel right now because I'm about to tell you things that have never been made public before, things that powerful people don't want you to know. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stay until the end. Because if you think you know what betrayal looks like, you have no idea. And if there's even one woman out there right now living with a man who wants her gone, maybe my story will save her life. Please share this video. Let's begin. I'm sitting here in front of this camera, and honestly, my hands are shaking. Even after 3 years, talking about this makes my heart race. But I promised myself that when I was strong enough, I would tell the truth. The whole truth. So here I am. This is my story. I wasn't born into wealth or royalty. I grew up in a small fishing village in Brazil. My father was a fisherman. My mother taught at the local school. We lived in a tiny house near the beach. We didn't have much money, but God, we had love. Real love. The kind where your parents work themselves to exhaustion just to make sure you have a better life than they did. That's what my childhood was. Simple. Honest. Safe. I was 22 years old, studying international relations at the University of São Paulo. I was working 3 jobs to pay for my books and rent: waitressing, tutoring, translating documents. I was exhausted all the time, but I was happy because I was building my own future. Nobody was giving me anything. I was earning it. Then one day, my professor told me I had been selected to meet with a delegation of foreign diplomats visiting the university. I remember borrowing a suit from my roommate, practicing what I would say in the mirror, being so nervous that I almost didn't go. But I went. And that's when I met him, Prince Khalil of Saudi Arabia. The moment he walked into that room, I felt it. You know that feeling when someone looks at you and suddenly the rest of the world just disappears? That's what happened. He was 30 years old, tall, sophisticated, with these dark eyes that seemed to see right through me. We were supposed to have a brief conversation, maybe exchange a few formal pleasantries. We talked for over an hour. He asked me about my studies, my family, my dreams, and he actually listened. Not the polite, fake listening that important men do. Real listening. Before he left Brazil, he asked for my phone number. I gave it to him, thinking I would never hear from him again. Why would a prince stay in touch with a girl like me? But he called me the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. For 6 months, we talked every single day. He would call me at 2 a.m. his time just to say good morning to me. We shared everything, our fears, our hopes, our secrets. I fell in love with him. Completely. Desperately. The kind of love where you can't imagine your life without that person. When he asked me to marry him, I said yes without even thinking. I was so happy I cried for hours. My parents were scared. My father held my hands and looked into my eyes and said, "Iara, my darling, you're entering a world you don't understand. Please think about this carefully." But I was 23 and in love, and I thought love could overcome anything. I thought our connection was strong enough to survive anything. Our wedding was like something out of a fairy tale. 300 guests from around the world. A dress that cost more than my parents' house. Diamonds, flowers, music, cameras everywhere. I walked down the aisle feeling like the luckiest woman in the world. This was my Cinderella moment. This was my happily ever after. Or so I thought. The first year was amazing. Khalil was everything I dreamed of. He took me traveling. Paris, London, Tokyo, the Maldives. He bought me jewelry that made me uncomfortable because I had never worn anything worth more than $20. He introduced me to presidents, artists, royalty. He made me feel like I belonged in his world, like I was worthy of being his wife. I was so happy. So deeply, completely happy. But then things started to change. Slowly at first. His mother never liked me from day one. She made that very clear. To her, I was nobody. A gold digger who had trapped her son. She would make comments in Arabic, thinking I didn't understand. Comments about my background, my family, how unsuitable I was. When I told Khalil, he would just say, "Give her time. She'll come around." But she never did. I tried so hard to fit in. I learned Arabic as fast as I could. I converted to Islam sincerely, not just for show. I studied Saudi customs, protocol, everything. I changed who I was to become who they wanted me to be. And with every change, I felt myself getting smaller, quieter, less like Iara, and more like some version of myself I didn't recognize. Then I got pregnant. I was 25 years old, and when I saw those 2 lines on the pregnancy test, I cried with joy. I thought this would make everything better. I thought a baby would make me truly part of the family. I thought Khalil would love me even more. I called my mother in Brazil, and she was so happy she couldn't stop crying. "A grandchild," she kept saying. "My beautiful daughter is going to be a mother." When I told Khalil, he smiled. He hugged me. He said all the right things, but there was something in his eyes that made me uncomfortable. Something cold. Something distant. I pushed the feeling away. I told myself I was being paranoid, that it was just pregnancy hormones making me emotional. But then his mother came to visit. She looked at me with pure disgust and said in English so I would understand every word, "You better pray that baby is a boy. If you give birth to a girl, you are worthless to this family. Worthless." I put my hand on my belly, feeling my baby move inside me, and I knew right then that I was in danger. Real danger. My pregnancy was difficult. I was sick all the time, losing weight when I should have been gaining it. The palace doctor kept saying it was normal, just severe morning sickness. But something felt wrong. Everything felt wrong. And Khalil was changing. He stopped sleeping in our bedroom. He would come home late, smelling of perfume that wasn't mine. When I asked him where he had been, he would get angry. "You're being paranoid," he would say. "Pregnancy is making you crazy." But I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. One night, when I was 7 months pregnant, I couldn't sleep. I got up to get some water and passed by Khalil's office. The door was slightly open and I heard him on the phone. He was speaking in Arabic, quietly, thinking I was asleep upstairs. I stood outside the door and listened, and what I heard made my blood freeze. He was talking to someone about life insurance, about how much money he would receive if something happened to me. "Women die in childbirth all the time," he was saying, "even with the best medical care. It would be tragic, but not suspicious. No one would question it." I stood there, 7 months pregnant with his child, and realized my husband was planning my death. I backed away from the door as quietly as I could, went back to my room, locked the door, and spent the entire night crying silently into my pillow. I couldn't believe it. The man I loved, the man whose child I was carrying, wanted me dead. But I couldn't go to the police. He was a prince. I couldn't run. I was 7 months pregnant in a foreign country with no money of my own. Everything I had was his. Even my passport was locked in his safe. So I did the only thing I could do. I started documenting everything. I recorded conversations on my phone. I took screenshots. I wrote everything down in a journal that I hid behind the bathroom mirror. If he was going to kill me, I wanted there to be evidence. I wanted someone to know the truth. I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. I named her Sophia, after my grandmother. The moment the nurse placed her in my arms, I felt a love so fierce and pure that it hurt. She was perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I knew I had to protect her at any cost. Khalil didn't come to the hospital until the next day. When he finally showed up, he looked at Sophia with such disappointment that I wanted to scream. "A girl," he said flatly. "Well, maybe next time." Next time? I had almost died bringing this child into the world, and he was already thinking about the next baby, about getting the son he wanted. His mother was even crueler. She looked at my daughter like she was defective. "This is what happens," she said to Khalil, not even trying to whisper. "When you marry inferior blood, you get inferior children." I held Sophia tighter and said nothing. What could I say? I had no power, no money, no way out. The next few months were hell. Khalil barely acknowledged Sophia existed. He hired nannies to take care of her. And when I protested, he told me I was being an overprotective mother. He stayed out almost every night. I found receipts for jewelry I never received, hotels, expensive restaurants. He wasn't even trying to hide his affairs anymore. I was so lonely, so exhausted, so scared. But I had Sophia, my beautiful baby girl. I would hold her at night and promise her that somehow I would find a way to get us out of there. I would protect her, no matter what. Then came that night. The night that changed everything. Sophia was 4 months old. Khalil had been gone for 3 days on what he said was a business trip. Later, I would find out he was in Dubai with his mistress. I was alone in our palace with Sophia and the staff who reported everything I did back to his mother. It was late, around 11 at night. I had just put Sophia to sleep in her nursery. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, barely holding myself together. I walked into my bedroom, turned on the light, and that's when I saw it. On my bed, coiled on my silk pillows. A cobra. A massive cobra with its hood spread, its eyes fixed on me, ready to strike. I froze. Every muscle in my body locked. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. The cobra raised its head higher, and I could see its tongue flicking in and out, tasting the air. It knew I was there. My first thought was Sophia. My baby was just down the hall. If I screamed, if I made noise, would someone come help? Or would they let me die? Did the staff know about this? Had they put the snake there on Khalil's orders? I took one slow step backward. The cobra's head followed my movement. Another step. It started to uncoil, moving toward the edge of the bed. It was going to strike. I could see it preparing, muscles tensing, getting ready to launch itself at me. I grabbed a pillow from the chair near the door and threw it at the cobra. The pillow hit the snake, and in that split second of distraction, I ran. I ran toward the door as fast as I could, but I wasn't fast enough. I felt the bite. Sharp, burning pain in my ankle, like someone had stabbed me with a hot knife. I screamed and fell. The cobra struck again, this time higher on my leg. The pain was unbearable, fire and ice spreading through my body at impossible speed. I crawled toward the door, screaming for help. "Help me! Please! Someone help! My baby! Sophia!" But my voice was getting weaker. My tongue felt thick. My vision was blurring. The venom was working so fast, too fast. I made it to the doorway, half in my bedroom, half in the hallway, and then I couldn't move anymore. My body just stopped responding. I tried to call for Sophia one more time, but no sound came out. And then everything went black. I died. That's not dramatic language. I actually died. My heart stopped. For 4 full minutes, I was clinically dead. The medical team that eventually arrived said I was already gone when they got there. The venom had shut down my heart, my lungs, everything. They tried to resuscitate me, but nothing worked. I was dead. But then something impossible happened. After 4 minutes, my heart just started beating again, on its own. No medical explanation. No reason. It just started. The doctors couldn't explain it. They still can't. People don't come back from cobra venom after 4 minutes of no heartbeat. It's medically impossible. But I did. When I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital. Machines were beeping everywhere. Tubes in my arms. My mother was there. She had flown from Brazil the second she heard. She was holding my hand, praying in Portuguese, crying. When she saw my eyes open, she screamed for the doctors. The medical team rushed in, checking everything, asking me questions I couldn't answer. They kept saying, "This isn't possible. This shouldn't be happening." But I was awake. I was alive. Against all odds, I was still here. The first words I managed to say were, "Where's Sophia? Where's my baby?" My mother's face changed, and I knew something was wrong. "She's with Khalil's mother," she said quietly. I tried to get up, tried to fight, but I was too weak. "No," I whispered. "You have to get her. Please, she's not safe." Over the next few days, as I slowly recovered, the police came to interview me. They asked how the cobra got into my room. Did I have enemies? Had anyone threatened me? I told them everything. About Khalil, about the conversation I overheard, about the life insurance, everything. But they looked at me like I was crazy. "Princess Yara," one officer said gently, "you've experienced severe trauma. Sometimes our minds create explanations for random accidents. Your husband is a respected prince. Surely you can't believe he would do something like this." But I knew. I knew with absolute certainty that Khalil had arranged this. He wanted me dead, and he had almost succeeded. My mother helped me plan my escape. We told everyone I needed to recover in Brazil, to be with family. Khalil didn't object. He actually seemed relieved. He visited me in the hospital exactly once, for 10 minutes, when cameras were present. He held my hand and said how grateful he was that I survived. But when the cameras left and we were alone for just a moment, he leaned close and whispered in my ear, "You got lucky this time. Don't push it." That's when I knew for certain. He had done it. He had tried to kill me, and he was angry that I survived. 2 weeks later, my mother and I left Saudi Arabia with Sophia. We told everyone it was temporary, just for my recovery, but I knew I was never going back. Once we were safely in Brazil, I went to journalists, human rights lawyers, international organizations, anyone who would listen. I showed them my recordings, my journals, my evidence. At first, most people didn't believe me. A Brazilian girl accusing a Saudi prince of attempted murder? It seemed impossible. Too dramatic. Too convenient. But then other women started coming forward. Women who had been involved with Khalil before me. Women who had disappeared or died in accidents, or been paid off to stay silent. Suddenly my story didn't seem so impossible anymore. It was a pattern. I wasn't his first victim. I was just the first one who survived and was willing to speak. The investigation took 2 years. 2 long, terrifying years of death threats, of living in hiding, of looking over my shoulder constantly. There were nights I wanted to give up, to just disappear and try to forget. But every time I looked at Sophia, I remembered why I was fighting. For her. For all the women who couldn't fight for themselves. Eventually, the evidence became overwhelming. Khalil's business partner testified about the insurance policies and the affairs. Palace staff came forward with stories of threats and strange orders given the night of the attack. The veterinarian who sold Khalil the cobra identified him from photographs. The mistress he was with that night testified that he had told her I would be gone soon. Khalil was arrested. A prince, actually arrested for attempted murder. It was international news. His family tried everything to stop it. They claimed I was lying, that I was after money, that I was mentally unstable. But the evidence was too strong. He was convicted and sentenced to 25 years in prison. His title was stripped. His assets were frozen. I should feel victorious. I should feel satisfied. But mostly I just feel tired. And grateful. So grateful to be alive. Grateful for Sophia. Grateful for my mother who never gave up on me. Grateful for the miracle that brought me back from death. I'm telling you this story today because I need you to understand something important. Abuse doesn't always come with bruises you can see. Sometimes it looks like isolation, control, manipulation. And sometimes the most dangerous person in your life is the one you love most, the one you share a bed with, the one you trust completely. I ignored the warning signs. I made excuses for Khalil's behavior. I thought love would be enough. I thought if I just tried harder, if I was better, if I gave him the son he wanted, everything would be okay. But it wouldn't have been. Because the problem was never me. The problem was him. If you're watching this and you see yourself in my story, please listen to me. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Document everything. Tell someone you trust, make a plan, and get out. I know it's hard. I know it seems impossible. But you can do it. You can survive. You can rebuild. I did it. I'm here. I'm alive. Sophia is 6 years old now, happy and healthy. We live in Brazil near my parents. I still have nightmares about that cobra, about the feeling of dying, about everything I went through. But I also have hope. I have my freedom. I have my daughter. I have my voice. And I'm using that voice to tell you, you are not alone. You are stronger than you think. No matter how powerful your abuser is, no matter how trapped you feel, there is always a way out. It might take time. It might take a miracle. But you can do it. I died for 4 minutes on that cold floor, but I came back. And I came back fighting. I'm still here. Still speaking. Still surviving. And if I can do it, so can you. Thank you so much for watching my story. Thank you for listening, for believing me, for being here with me today. I know this was hard to hear. It's still hard for me to tell, but it needed to be told. If you made it to the end of this video, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that subscribe button. Not just for me, but for every woman out there who is still trapped in silence. Every woman who is scared to speak up. Every woman who thinks no one will believe her. When you subscribe to this channel, you're saying their stories matter, their lives matter.